Oswald is the centerpiece of it. And, you know, there's casting with that too. When it's a hand-drawn animated character, you get the
Yes.
personality of all the animators of Sergio Pablos, who's leading the whole animation team. Individual animators are working on different sequences with Oswald. Andy Jones, my partner, executive producer, the guy who I know, he's also a wonderful animator, overseeing and creating consistency.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nikki Novak in the Fandango suite at D23 with the great Jon Favreau. Hi.
Hi, thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
It's a busy time for you.
It is. It's always fun at D23, though. There's
It
always a
is.
lot going on.
A lot going on.
Yes.
You've got a lot going on. Let's talk Oswald.
Okay.
100-year-old character.
Yes.
As of next year.
Yes.
We've all seen Oswald, but we don't know
That's
him.
right. That's right.
So what can you say about his backstory, and how does that lead us into this series?
Disney fans will recognize him.
Yeah.
They may have seen some of his shorts. Walt worked on Oswald cartoons with Ub Iwerks for, one season, 1 year. So there's not a lot to know about Oswald. The cartoons from the 20s, 1927. Yeah. So cartoons were a little bit more chaotic then, completely silent. Maybe there'd be some piano accompanying at the theater. But it was before Steamboat Willie, which came the next year, right?
Yeah.
So Walt had lost the rights to Oswald when he was trying to get a higher budget for the cartoons. The studio fired Walt, kept Oswald. And Walt was heartbroken because he really cared about this character.
Wow.
They had enjoyed some success. And then he and most of the animators got hired away from him as well. So he was really... didn't know if it was the end of the road for him. He and Ub Iwerks, his animating, his creative partner and lead animator, they created Mickey Mouse, and Steamboat Willie came out. First time he had sync sound on a cartoon. It was a huge success. And, Walt and Mickey Mouse became worldwide stars, and Oswald has since been lost to history. And so I was inspired to tell a story of what would it be like if this little guy came back into the world, saw what's happened the last 100 years, and maybe even saw what happened with Walt and discovered all the things that have happened since he's been gone. So it's a live action 3-part miniseries. It's about a bunch of middle school kids from Silver Lake find Oswald at the site of the old Hyperion Studios, which is where it originally was in Silver Lake, Los Angeles. And he's an animated character, hand-drawn animation by a lot of ex-2D Disney animators that don't get to do that anymore. It's a comedy for the family, but for a Disney fan, there's a lot of lovely details about this character. We film in great locations like Disneyland, like the Burbank lot. We even got to film in Walt Disney's office, which has been preserved as Walt had left it. So getting access by working with Disney on this and getting access to all these wonderful locations, this fantastic character, these great animators, and a very talented cast. It was a lovely project.
Drop the mic. Like, what a brilliant concept for a series.
Thank you.
Would you say Oswald is sassy? What's Oswald's personality?
We draw a lot of inspiration from like Buster Keaton. So there's a vulnerability, but there's a pluckiness to him. If you look at early Mickey, also there was the cartoon characters were a lot more chaotic, rambunctious. The sense of humor was a little bit more rough around the edges, more roughhouse. But then he also has the layer of vulnerability. And I think there's an emotion to him because he's been left behind and he's alone. And
for almost 100 years.
The character, Ravi plays Jake. And that's another character, the kid that finds him, also feels a little bit lonely, and the two characters find each other. So trying to adhere to what Walt really aspired to, which is combining artistry, technology, emotion, humor. That mixture felt like it was very organic to this character and this story.
If you were able to jump back in time and sit in Walt's office and have a conversation with him, what would be the first thing you would ask him?
He was so ambitious in his aspirations. And I feel like I know so much about him through his work. I've met a lot of people who, I look up to very much creatively. And it's wonderful talking to them. In all seriousness, like, it's great to get to know them, but you get to know them as friends, as peers. But you really learn about the contours of their soul through their work. So I feel like I know him really well just from what he's left behind as the other filmmakers that I know, writers, actors. You put on your day-to-day persona that you have,
Yeah.
and you're one person, but then when they enter the creative realm, there's something totally different that comes out that's
Isn't that
usually very connected
It's so
to
true.
them. So it's almost like when you meet these people, they're two different, you have to know them two
Yes.
different ways. But what's nice about somebody who's so prolific, whether it's a songwriter, a musician, actor, filmmaker, is you see a lot of them over a career will explore similar themes. And it's almost like they're telling one story over the course of many different chapters. You know, you look at the films of Jim Cameron, you look at, Guillermo del Toro, Nolan, like they're drawn to similar things and explore them from different directions. But that humanity, when they get it right, is so revealing that we relate to it so much.
So what is your through line?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know mine. That's for somebody else to figure
Yeah.
out. I just know that when you're making this stuff, you
Yeah.
feel very inspired and you feel very, how should I say it? There's a certainty to the direction you're
Yeah.
moving. And when you're creative that you love, it's like when you're writing and it comes out quickly, it's such a good feeling. And sometimes it's frustrating because you can't get into a groove or a flow.
Yeah. And my last question to you is, let's talk about this cast. Amy Sedaris?
Yeah, she's in there.
Steve Martin? Is he in there?
Is that thing confirmed? I don't know.
Don't know.
Not
Maybe
sure.
he's in
Maybe.
it. But
Has that been confirmed? I don't know.
how did you gather your cast, and who
Oh,
did you
I've
gather?
been very
Yeah.
fortunate. Of course, we have Albert Brooks, who's, one of the stars. He's somebody who I looked up to for so long. Great filmmaker, comedian. Ravi, Michael Michelle, writer, the young actors in it. Fantastic, fantastic cast. We got Al Madrigal as the dad, and Catherine Hahn, also hilarious. So, it's one of those things where we reach out. We work with Sarah Finn all the way since
Yeah,
Iron
she's
Man.
amazing.
Great at having ideas for casting and assembling a cast. A couple cameos here and there, like Amy and others. But really, Oswald is the centerpiece of it, and there's casting with that too. When it's a hand-drawn animated character, you get the personality of all the animators of Sergio Pablos, who's leading the whole animation team. Individual animators are working on different sequences with Oswald. Andy Jones, my partner, executive producer, the guy who I know, he's also a wonderful animator, overseeing and creating consistency. And then the music is such a big part of it because it's a Disney production, and John Debney's doing the music. He's fantastic. He grew up on the lot, invoking both the traditional arrangements that from the old Disney movies, but also bringing authentic, energetic 1920s New Orleans jazz feel to sequences too, because that was the music of the era that defined the style of what was happening in the 20s. And by bringing it, a lot of that stuff, the old cartoons, the old music, you think of a scratchy old record or a grainy old print, but those were very much alive at the time. And when you hear all of that stuff re-recorded, reanimated, you realize how energetic and exciting and timeless all of that is. I used to go to the old silent movie theater on Fairfax when I first moved to town. It was amazing to me how much the Buster Keaton comedies would hold up. You'd have rooms full of people laughing in the modern time at comedy and storytelling that felt timeless. There's something about that tradition, and Walt really looked back nostalgically at the past. And I think a lot of what I've been introduced to, whether it's through Looney Tunes or Disney, classical music, jazz music, that type of comedy, young audiences are getting this. So you may as well make it rich and dense with cool historical stuff that might pique their interest for later on. And I think a lot of the things that I'm interested in now came from things that were laid into things made for young people that they didn't have to go through that trouble, but it ended up giving me a context and piquing my curiosity as an audience member.
John, You've got me. I have chills. I feel the magic, and the fact that it's hand-drawn animation and you've put so much detail in it. Cannot wait to see this series.
It's really special.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yes.
And thanks for the chat.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy your D23.
Thank you. Bye.